Hello, this is Paul Chek, and welcome to part 2 of my little mini-series, the I, We, and All of Relationships. Part 2, the love, lock, and key of we. Oh, great spirit. Let's see what we got today. Before I begin, a lot of people always ask me, Paul, where can I get more information? Where can I get more information? So a lot of what I'm teaching you in this series comes right out of my course, which is online, called the PPS Success Mastery Lessons. You can do the first 3 programs as a package, which is the first step program. You can also do lesson 1 on DVD if you prefer that over online learning. This manual, as you can see, is quite full. That's half the lessons. There's 12 lessons in total, so you get lots of training. Also, if you join the program, you have several years, literally hundreds of PPS coaching calls that have been recorded where I go over issues like this in great detail with individuals that are students that are having various challenges in life, so you can learn how I handle a wide variety of these things as a coach for my students. And then, of course, the basics of how to take care of yourself are always available to you in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. So today, let's begin with a short recap of what we did in part 1. We talked about the I of the we. We talked about the essential functions of achieving safety, security, rhythm, flow, sex identity, sexuality, and recognizing what your personal power is or your contribution to your tribe, family, society, or culture is. I shared that many research experts such as Rudolf Steiner, Joseph Chilton, Pierce, and others have found that the ego in a normal, healthy individual takes about 21 years to form, which means you still don't know enough about life and don't have enough experience to know who and what you really are till you're about 21 years of age, at which time your ego is considered to be complete, and then you go off and fulfill living your dreams and contributing to others. So that is really when we become an adult, when we have a healthy ego. And as many of you will be aware from the things that I share in your own experiences, just because you look like an adult and drive a cool car and wear a tie does not mean that you are an adult. Could be that you're a child in a large body, which is quite common today due to the breakdown in our family and tribal culture and to complications of religion, politics, society, etc. That's okay, it's all good, it's all just a big game of love. So let's see what we can do today to go healthy in our we relationships. And first we will begin with ourself. So here you see the diagram. U stands for universe. Uni means one, verse means song. So the term universe means there's only one big song of which we're all a part of. Therefore, there really is no actual separation. The ego creates a cool little illusion of differentiation to allow us to have an experience of love. How cool is that? So what you see here is the word love, L-O-V-E. 0 means unconditional love, pure potential, the potential to become anything. Remember, unconditional love always says yes, so be careful what you wish for. L stands for life or desire. We must have the desire to live, to continue to live and create our dreams, for better or worse. When people lose the desire to live, they often kill themselves. So we know that we must truly have the desire to live. So your desires extract the potential, which produces VE, volt electron, which really is a symbol for motive or will, the willpower. To the degree that you desire, you will. Now, I've defined love because I don't really know of any real definitions of love. There's all sorts of things that talk about the way it feels. So I really took it upon myself to look into what love could really be defined as. So for me, love is the flow of energy and information through connection. Now, you'll notice my drawing here. This drawing's oriented around the I. The first person we must learn to love effectively is ourselves. You can't give something to somebody else that you don't have. You can fake it, you can create debt, you can give money that you don't have and create debt, and debt creates burden or load. So the first step in learning to have a healthy we relationship is to take responsibility for learning to live and love fully with the self that you have. So we're always looking at ourself in all other relationships until we realize that, and oftentimes we don't realize it for quite some time, often long after 21 years. So once we recognize that we must love and care for ourselves as the basis of our concepts and our mode of expressing ourselves in relationship to others, then we realize that it is important to take care of ourselves. We realize that it is important to nourish ourselves and meet our needs so that we can effectively and honestly love other people. Now, I could talk for hours about the complications of religious ideas on that one alone, which I do in my PPS Success Mastery program, but the key thing is, remember, when you're speaking of yourself, I am Paul Chek. That's my hand. If that hand's unhealthy, it's my responsibility to get it healthy. If my brain, my body's not healthy, I got to take responsibility for that. I can't expect doctors to fix me if I'm not doing what I need to do to be a healthy human being, and I must love me so I can love you. So that's the basis of this development. In the last program, I talked about safety, security, rhythm, flow, personal power, and that you're 100% of you. When I'm 100% here with you, I can then and only then be 50% of any we. So I'm 100% here with you, and as long as you're 100% there with you too, you can receive 100% of me, so we have a healthy level of flow of energy and information through connection. Okay? So now, at the level of I, once we understand our first responsibility is to love, nourish, nurture, and care for ourselves, which means to love me equals to love you, we can now look at the law of attraction. The law of attraction says like attracts like and opposites attract. What does that mean? It means in general you will attract people to you that are like you in many different ways, but oftentimes like attract likes means you're going to attract people to you in general that are similar to you in your overall level of mental, emotional, or spiritual development, and that you will attract people that are opposite to you in that males are often attracted to females, females are attracted to males. You could be like somebody in your overall development, but one of you may be very skilled in mathematics or have a very logical view of the world. The other one may be quite artistic and very comfortable with, shall we say, an irrational or intuitive view of the world. So when like attracts like, similar development, and opposites, then we have the opportunity to learn and grow effectively from each other. Everybody that works for me, for example, at C.H.E.K Institute, has some kind of skills that I don't have. Lots of people think, oh, Paul's so smart, he knows everything. No, Paul's not that smart, and he doesn't know that much. That's why he needs lots of people with him. He's smart enough to find them. Okay? So know that we will attract people that are like us, but we will inherently need to attract people that have relatively opposing qualities so that we can learn and grow from each other. And that is one of the beautiful things of life. We get to share in each other's successes, and wisdom is the synthesis of knowledge. So by working with others who have synthesized knowledge and gain wisdom, you can gain a lot more clarity and education and sense of comfort in your skills of managing yourself very, very quickly if you get in the hands of wise people. So this brings us up to the mirror, the crystal ball, and the angel. Whenever we're dealing with ourselves first, or others in relationships, a little simple concept I share with my students is that every relationship we have is a mirror. When you look into the mirror, you get to see yourself. So if you look in the mirror and don't like the way your face looks, you can do something about it. If you look into the mirror of your life and don't like the way your life looks, it's mirroring you back to you. It's easy to blame somebody else, But first and foremost, the sign of an adult, someone who's passed effectively through those first 3 stages, is that they take responsibility for what they create in their own life, which is my definition of a spiritual person. So first, always be honest enough to say, what is my part in any challenge I'm having in relationship to myself or others? Second, what is the crystal ball? The crystal ball, as you know, is used by psychics and healers and witches to see the future. So whenever you want to use the crystal ball technique, it means if I keep living the way I'm living right now, I look into the crystal ball and say, what would my life be like next week, next month, next year, in 3 years, or in 5 years, or however far you want to go out. And you can honestly write down your own impression. The key thing for all of this is honesty. If you're in the habit of bullshitting yourself, you might as well turn off the tape now, because none of this is going to work. You have to be honest to grow. So look into the crystal ball and it will show you what your life will be like if you emulate anybody in relationship or any teacher, etc. Finally, the angel. Great Spirit is all loving. So there's always angels all around us. No matter how troublesome we think our life is, there are angels around us at all times. Angels are people that are typically significantly more evolved than you are, in many instances, or in some cases equally evolved, but evolved in areas where your weakness is, so they have a nice lock and key fit for you. Angels typically show up in your life to support you whenever you have an authentic want, need, or desire that, if created, will create love and joy in your life that can be shared with other people. The key thing about an angel is when they show up, they must be respected. They're usually evolved to the level of what I would consider to be empathetic and compassionate love, but their empathy and compassion has come by way of the school of hard knocks in life. And they're usually very wise and very, very sensitive because they have mastered themselves. So angels do not typically share with people that abuse their time, their energy, or their resources. So you usually get 1, if you're lucky, 2 tries with an angel. So when an angel shows up, know that Great Spirit has answered your prayers, and you must be careful not to inflict your own inadequacies onto your angel, or you not only won't grow, you will probably go into a dry spell where angels let you cook for a while. Okay, so now we go to the love, lock, and key. So once we've learned to love ourselves, we now know that love is unconditional and that the universe is one song. So paradoxically, we're only looking at elements of ourself that the ego creates the illusion that we're not really connected to. In order for love to flow, there has to be an I and a you, or an I and a thou, or a subject-object relationship. So here is the gap through which connection and the flow of energy and information occurs. I and thou. Each relationship we have, personal, professional, or spiritual, is what I call a lock and key relationship. I'm sure most of you are aware that the bumps on the keys have to fit into the lock, and inside the lock there's little pins. Most locks are what are called pin tumblers. So if the key has a bump on it, inside the lock it must lift a pin. The right key bumps cause the right pins to move out of place, and then you can turn the lock in the barrel. So in order for your key to work, you have to have the right bumps to fit the pins that unlock the lock. Well, that's how all relationships are. So for example, one of you is the lock and the other one's the key, and vice versa. So what are the key bumps that we all have on our locks? We have to have ideas and experiences to share about safety and security and meeting our needs. We have to have ideas and experiences to share about rhythm, flow, sex identity, sexuality. We have to have some element of personal power and self-will to be healthy in relationships. We have to have the capacity to love ourselves and others and be willing to integrate new parts of ourselves into ourselves and let go of old parts that we don't need anymore, like a snake sheds its skin. We have to have some level of creativity and communication to be effective in the world. We have to have some level of imagination and creativity. And we have to have some level of intuition, and this bump has to do with what is your concept of God or whatever created you. And it doesn't have to be God. It could be zero, it could be atheism, whatever. Just know that however you're bumped up here, you're going to attract locks to you that are just similar, or you won't have a functional relationship. Now, these key things are the elements that make up relationships. So the first thing we got to remember is that keys open doors, and a doorway is always a passage to a new experience. We don't know what's behind the door till we walk through it, right? If you stand in the door of an airplane with a parachute on your back but you don't jump, you'll never know what it's like to jump out of an airplane with a parachute on. So the door always represents transition and new possibilities. Relationships are all doors. First, we must know what our dream is, and our values must support our dream, because your values determine when you're going to say yes and no in relationships. All relationships help create awareness, and all relationships come with resistance. Why? Because without resistance, there's no feeling, and without resistance and feeling, there's no sense of direction or growth. So many think, oh, somebody's going to love me and pay all my bills and take my problems away. Wake up! That ain't how it works. And if you think that, you're in for a hell of a beating. Okay, so get ready for some resistance. Hopefully this will give you some assistance. Resistance brings change, change brings growth, and finally we must remember we in relationships aren't likely to stay in healthy relationships if we grow more than one arm's length beyond the person that we're in a personal, professional, or spiritual relationship. One arm's length in the chakra system would be an octave. So for example, if one person's total focus is down here on safety and security, but their partner's focus is a whole octave above, this person could be driven nuts. This person may want to always do things or even make love a lot when this one says, I'm busy, I got to make money. So that will create conflict in relationships. So in general, in my experience coaching thousands of people, if you're in a partnership with someone and you don't grow together, you will grow apart, which might be fine. We'll figure that out in our next session on the we tree. So now that you understand the basics of the lock and key fit, what we each bring to the table, what we each gain through going through the door of relationship, what love is, and why we must love ourselves in order to effectively love others, and what it takes in order to develop a healthy ego and be 100% present in any relationship at 50%, we're now ready to move forward to our next section, which will be part 3, where I show you a concept I developed called the we tree for creating healthy relationships and resolving relationship challenges. I'll see you soon, baby. Talk to you then.